Hello everyone. Today's yoga class is for you Ashtanga yogis out there. Now you're used to your 6 days a week, more yang, active practice, but this Yin Yoga class is designed to help you kind of take a step back, try to do a more passive practice and a more mindful practice. In your primary series, you do mostly forward folding and hip opening. So this class will help you to open up the front of the body, do some nice heart openers, and opening up the front of the hips as well. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. If you don't have any props handy, please grab a couple blocks. If you have a bolster or some cushions and a blanket or two, or you can use some towels if you don't have blankets. So if you can gather those things so they are available to you. I do highly encourage props. I know you're not used to using props in your Ashtanga practice, but in Yin Yoga, we really try to use the props to help us get more fully into the pose. And there's, I use props all the time. It's not a crutch. It's to help you melt into the pose so you can get into it deeper. So once you have those things, go ahead and get in a comfortable seated position. And we're going to take a few minutes to ground ourselves, listen to the breath, slow it down. Try to make your breath equal in the inhalation and the exhalation. If you want to use your Ujjayi breath, you can use that as well. Or perhaps counting to an inhale of, say, 5 and then exhaling the same amount. Maybe try to increase that. Just listen to your breath. Okay, start to come back into your normal breathing. We're going to start in a reclined butterfly pose. So you can use your bolster if you like, but I'm going to roll up a blanket. So you might want to keep the fringe side of the blanket if you have that inside so it doesn't kind of get into your back. And put the crease side down so it's most comfortable. Then we're going to place it lengthwise on our mat with the bottom of the blanket right about your shoulder blade, the bottom of your shoulder blades where the bra line is. And then we're going to go ahead and lay down on that, bringing the soles of the feet together, letting your knees drop out to the sides. Now, if this is uncomfortable for your knees, you can place a couple blocks or some blankets under your knees. But we really want to feel supported in these poses because we are trying to get into the connective tissue of the body in Yin Yoga. So in order to do that, your muscles need to be relaxed and feel stable. So once you do that, you can totally relax your muscles. And then we start to get into the connective tissue, the fascia, the joints, and the ligaments. So we're strengthening and stretching our connective tissue, but if you ever have any pain, please back out of the pose. We don't want pain, but we do want uncomfortable. So at first it might not feel that uncomfortable, but as you sit in these poses for a while, because we're going to hold most of them for 5 minutes, you may feel very uncomfortable, but that's good. Try to breathe through it, and that means it's working. So go ahead and just listen to your breath, go into your meditation, and relax. Using your hands, bring your knees together. Roll off to one side and bring your blanket or bolster out from under you. And just take a moment to realign the spine. We're going to come into a shoelace pose with an arm and shoulder stretch. So I would encourage you to fold a blanket or two, whatever you need to help you tilt your pelvis forward. Just go ahead and sit on the edge of those. And then I forgot to mention, if you have a strap, you might want to grab that if you can't easily grab your hands behind your back. But you can come into shoelace like I was just showing from all fours. So you put one knee behind the other and then go ahead and sit back in between your feet. You don't want to sit on your feet, but just on the edge of the blanket. And then the leg that is on top, that arm you want to stretch up overhead and then stretch the other arm behind you. And if you need a strap, go ahead and grab it. On this side, I do need a strap, but if you can easily grab, go ahead and do that. And if you would like, you can lean forward if you don't feel enough sensation, but I feel this one, so I'm just going to stay upright. This is a little more of an energetic pose just because we've got that shoulder stretch in there in the chest. But in this pose, even though you are not as relaxed as you were in the last pose, go ahead and try and soften as much as you can. So think about your hips. You know, you might be holding some tension in there, so try to soften the hips. This is a pretty intense hip opener. And then kind of scan your body upwards to your shoulders and chest. Try to relax the muscles there and scan all the way up to your head. You might be clenching your jaw. Just relax as much as you can, soften, and breathe. slowly let your strap or your hands go. Give yourself a little shoulder stretch. Stretch your shoulders. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Do some windshield wipers. You should really take it nice and slow coming out of these poses, as we're in these for 5 minutes, so we want to give our body the chance to recover, have that rebound effect. We're a little more fragile after these poses, so take your time. And when you're ready, there's no rush, go ahead and come to the other side. Now, one side may feel very different from the other. This side's much easier for me. But don't fret about it. Just notice, observe. You may have to prop this side differently. That's okay. Just, again, scan your body. Think about softening. Soften your hips. Soften your shoulders. You can try to go into a meditation during these quiet times, maybe a mantra, listening to your breath, counting your breath. I tend to just kind of let my mind wander, just observe my thoughts, but don't react. Just let them float away. Just taking your time. This is your time. Go ahead and release your hands or your strap. Slowly uncross your legs. Be very gentle. That was a pretty intense hip stretch. And your shoulders should be feeling nice and open. Just be gentle with your body. The next pose we're going to come into is called Dragon. Now, if you would like a little more cushion for your knee, I suggest placing a blanket like I am on the mat. And then we're going to be lunging one leg forward. So let's put our right leg forward, left knee on the blanket or the mat. So if you're comfortable, you can sit all the way up like I was showing there. I prefer to use blocks, so you can come up a little higher on the tall end, the medium height, the low height, or you can have your hands all the way on the floor. If you're very open, you can go down to your forearms, but just keep in mind we will be here for 5 minutes. So it may feel okay in the beginning, but after a few minutes, it might get pretty intense. The goal here is not to get into these poses as far as we can. The point of Yin is to feel it. It doesn't matter what it looks like, what props you need. If you're feeling the sensation, you're doing it right. So in this pose, we are feeling an intense hip flexor psoas muscle stretch. And if you wanted to stay more upright, you might feel a little bit of a back bend. So it just depends on where you really want to be feeling it. That's how you should prop it. Sometimes I like to have the blocks a little higher in this pose because then I get into the hip flexor that much more. So just breathe into this. Feel the opening up of the front of the body. This one's a little more muscular as well, so just try to soften as much as you can. Okay, let's bring that left leg back to meet the right. You can move your blocks off to the side. Do whatever movements feel good to your body. That is a tough one. So take your time, be gentle on those hips. Let's take a child's pose for a moment. And then we're going to come into a shoulder stretch. So go ahead and move your props out of your way and lay down on your stomach. Now, if your shoulders are really tight, just bring one arm across. So let's start with the right and bring it under our body. And you can bring the left arm out in front of you. But if you're able, go ahead and do a shoelace with your arms. So your right arm underneath first, and then your left arm on top across your body. This can be pretty intense, so we're going to be here for about 2 minutes on each side. But I love this stretch because it's a great opening for the upper back and shoulders. My shoulders get tight all the time, so I do this one as much as I can. Just breathe into it. Just settle your forehead on the floor. Soften your shoulders, your back, your hips, your legs. Okay, let's slowly push yourself up to a sphinx for just a moment. And then we'll come to the other side. So if your shoulders are tight, remember you can just start with your left arm underneath and your right arm in front of you. Otherwise, go ahead and bring your left arm across, and then on top of that, put your right arm shoelaced underneath each other. This side may feel different. Just try to soften your body as much as you can. We're only going to be here for 2 minutes, so take your time. Okay, let's come back into a sphinx for another few moments. And then let's come onto our knees. Stretch your neck and your shoulders. That can be pretty intense. So that's why we held it a little less time than we normally would, because the shoulders are a fairly shallow joint, so we don't want to put too much pressure. The next pose we're going to come into is a supported bridge. So this should feel really good, especially after dragon. So you can take 2 blocks side by side and put them right under your sacrum. Or if you prefer, which I like to do, you can do those either way, like I'm showing there. You can do them on the short height, medium, even tall. But I prefer a bolster. The blocks are a little hard on my sacrum, so I like to have a squishy bolster underneath. It will get you up a little higher than the blocks, so if you're not open enough, please don't use that. But if you can, you might want to give it a try, because it feels pretty good to me. So you can leave your feet flat on the floor, or if you think you're open enough, and you can try putting one foot out and then the other so they're straight like I'm showing here. So this is a nice opening of the entire body, a nice relaxed back bend. Make sure you adjust. If you're not quite comfortable, you'll know when you hit the right spot. You don't want it too high up so it's on your spine. You want to make sure it's underneath your sacrum. But once you're here, you can just melt into the floor and feel all that opening. See all those forward folds you do? This is a great counter pose to that. Just breathe, soften, relax. Okay, let's slowly bring one foot on the floor and then the other if they're not there already. Lift your hips up and remove your blocks or your bolster. Just sit on the floor and relax. Let your back settle back into alignment. Bring your knees together. Just let them kind of relax into each other so your femurs settle into your joints. And then we're going to come into banana. So this is a great stretch. So go ahead and bring your feet and your hands over to the right. So if you'd like a little more, you can drape your left ankle over your right, and you can grab your left wrist with your right hand. Just kind of make yourself so you're shaped like a banana. And you don't want to go so far that your shoulders lift off. You want to make sure your shoulders and hips are flat on the floor. So as far as comfortable for you, you'll want to adjust yourself and just feel that whole opening up of the whole side of the body. So you've got your IT band, your side waist, your ribs, a little bit of shoulders. So this is always a nice pose toward the end of the practice. Just feels so good, and it's so relaxing to be here. Okay, let's bring our arms and legs back to center. Stretch out. And then we'll come to the other side. So we'll bring our legs and arms over to the left. If you like, you can put that right ankle over the left. Grab that left arm with the right. Breathe and relax. Let's bring our legs and arms slowly back to center. Maybe lift your hips, readjust yourself a little. If you like, you can bring a bolster underneath your knees. I like to do that. It helps to realign and reset the hip bones. Plus, it just feels really good. So just get comfortable. If you have something you'd like to place over your eyes, maybe get any props out of your way. Just make sure you're in a nice, comfortable space so that you can fully enjoy Shavasana. All the hard work is done. Now it's your time. So you can stay in Shavasana as long as you like. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.